Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Kimmel, as of right now, as I record this, has lost his show. It might come back. I don't know. I think there's talks of it right now as I record this. Am I sad that he lost his show? Am I happy that he lost his show? Stay tuned. I'll be right back and I'll share my thoughts on that and a few other things. All right, cheers and good on you, boys and girls. Thank you for tuning into the show. Do me a favor, share the show, text it out to a friend, share it to your social media. Everything that you do helps. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys sincerely from the bottom of my heart. So, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel, he's suspended indefinitely as I record this. Of course, new information might come out. I've heard things that he's in negotiations. Of course, he was told that he should go on air and apologize, which I've heard that he is refusing to do. What I've also heard is that when he made his comments, let's clarify what his comments were. It was Monday, whatever that date was, after all of the information that was out there. It was a clearly defined information that the shooter for Charlie Kirk was not MAGA, was not a Trump supporter. But Jimmy Kimmel, probably the poster boy for Trump derangement syndrome. I think that's quite clear at this point. You know, I interrupt myself quite a bit. So let me interrupt myself real quick. I always thought it was funny how every night, now think about like what the Tonight Show used to be back in the day, Johnny Carson and so on, and probably even, I guess, with Jay Leno. And it would come on to entertain. What these late night talk shows have become, and by the way, Stephen Colbert's canceled. As of right now, Jimmy Kimmel's canceled. The Tonight Show now is in the toilet. The ratings are in the toilet. And you got people like Greg Gutfeld and The Five. Their ratings are through the roof. That tells me a little bit about the pulse of the country. You know, lick your finger, put your finger up, which way is the wind blowing? You can kind of tell by just look at the ratings. But yet, the left seems to think that everything is Jimmy Kimmel. Everybody hates Trump. Look at The View. Everybody hates Trump, right? No, not necessarily. And then you look at again, I've got a lot to say. So I've got like a million thoughts in my head at once. So if you look at like the old school Tonight Show, and it used to be, let's entertain people. Let's take people away from all of their problems, the work life. Believe me, I got so much stress in my life, and I don't even know if I can get into that. But my point is, people would go to like the Tonight Show as an example to kind of escape their problems before going to bed, and then having to wake up the next day and do it again. What these shows have become, Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, it's become Trump derangement syndrome. That's all it is. It's just, how can I just hate on Trump? Almost every line they deliver, almost everything they talk about is how much do we hate Trump? And then you get the crowd clapping. That's all it's become. But the ratings are in the toilet. But yet we're supposed to believe like that's all of America. That's how America feels, right? So you can kind of tell. Let's break this apart simply. So everything's out. All of the information is out that this was not a MAGA supporter. This was not a Trump supporter. This was not a far right activist, as we were told. Now, I knew that before the information came out. Many people did. Just use two brain cells. This guy's a Trump supporter, but he's going to shoot Charlie Kirk, one of the biggest Trump supporters that you could ever imagine on the planet. Probably did many, many things to help get Trump elected. But he was a Trump supporter, and that's why he shot Charlie Kirk. From the second that BS information came out, and by the way, just like Jimmy Kimmel, I still see people constantly telling me, no, he was a Trump supporter. I'm like, what? What is wrong with people? Like, what is wrong with people? First of all, not even just because of the information that's out, but can't you just logically think for a second? Think for a second. It doesn't make sense. So all the information's out. Jimmy Kimmel still proudly goes on his show and calls the shooter a MAGA supporter. Okay. I heard that he, even though it started heating up and people were getting, really upset about it, as they should, by the way, He was going to, instead of coming out on the night he was supposed to do his show, he was going to go, and this is widely out there. I'm not making this up, in other words. He was still going to go. He was going to hammer it down and go on his show and speak about this before he got canceled. Like, it was all planned. He was going to still go out and talk about how rip on MAGA, Trump supporters are idiot, like whatever. I don't know. We don't know what he was going to say because his show was canceled before he had the opportunity to do so. So it's just funny with the information that's out there at this point. Keep it in perspective. There was so much false information online. Again, I got people attacking me left and right, like, "Oh, hey, I was a Trump supporter. What do you feel about that?" I'm like, I'm not. This is when it first happened. I'm like, it's not making sense. But no, I was a Trump supporter. Look at that. Oh, his parents were Trump supporters. And again, I said this on my last episode. If you took a guy, I mean, my God, I have so many examples of this. In the same family, I have someone who's a hardcore Trump supporter, and then I've got someone who's hardcore left. And in the same family, they're brothers. I also know family members where one person's a cop and the other person literally has spent their entire life in prison. So just because someone's their family is Trump supporters. That doesn't always add up. Now, I wish it did. I wish people would become more conservative. It just doesn't work that way. Just because mommy and daddy are. In fact, a lot of people, mommy and daddy are this. I'm hardcore going the other way. We see that probably a lot more. So Jimmy Kimmel, he nope. All the information's out there, but he has Trump derangement syndrome. He has fact checkers, and he has said that before on his show about his show. He has fact checkers. That way he doesn't go out on his show and put out false information. He has proclaimed that. He has said that. I've heard recordings of him saying that. So you still, though, all the information's out there. This guy was not a Trump supporter. He was a hardcore lefty. He hated Charlie Kirk. He, quite obviously, he hated Donald Trump. But Jimmy Kimmel still goes out there, says a bunch of lies, not proof, because he has Trump derangement syndrome. And they have indefinitely, as of right now, as I record this, they have indefinitely suspended his show. Now, it's funny too, the outrage. This is one thing I definitely want to talk about. The outrage coming from the left. Now, all of the sudden, the left is concerned about cancel culture. So let me wrap this up. I believe in free speech. I'm hardcore free speech. I'm one of these people that, like, I think people should bury themselves. And here's what I mean. If I don't use the N word, I don't like the N word. It's a disgusting word, horrible word. But I believe people should just free speech, say what you say, and bury yourself because of it. Okay. Now, just to be very clear, again, I don't support that word. Don't take things out of context. People should say what they say, and they should expose themselves for what they are. If you're a hate-filled person, say what you say, so on and so forth. But it is funny how the left is enraged. They are more upset about Jimmy Kimmel's show being canceled than they are about... So they're more upset about Jimmy Kimmel losing his show than they are about Charlie Kirk losing his life. Some of the things that I've seen... And I said this on the last show, just to reiterate, I don't blame all of the left. I know a lot of people on the left have condemned this. The ones that upset me, though, are the ones who kind of fueled this fire a little bit. They're the ones always talking about, you got to get in their faces. You got to, anybody on the right, you got to confront them in restaurants, kick them out of restaurants, meet them at the get the attention, on and on. The Chuck Schumers, the Maxine Waters, and it goes on. Kamala Harris is called Trump a fascist and a racist and fascism. It's funny how the right gets called fascist, but who is the one suppressing free speech? I've heard Charlie Kirk talk about it before, where they were calling him a fascist, and he proudly said, like, I'm just trying to talk. Who are all these people trying to shout me down? The 500 people over here that are protesting and trying to shout me down that are against free speech. Free speech should be free speech. Jimmy Kimmel didn't get fired because of free speech. Let me break this down. So just to make it clear, so again, the left's running with this, and see, Trump's a dictator, and he's trying to, jeez, I work for a company. Do you think that I can just say whatever I want to say? Do you know how many times I've been in trouble for saying things I probably shouldn't have said when I've talked back to somebody and this and that? Many times. I'm very vocal. I say things I probably shouldn't say sometimes. Have I been in trouble for it? Have I ever gotten my job threatened? Of course. See, so my point is Jimmy Kimmel works for somebody. He could say whatever he wants. Now he's spreading lies. But you also have to look at it like this, kind of what I was saying before. Which way is the wind blowing, right? The tide has turned. The wind has shifted, okay? Now, Disney has done some stupid things. They have made some dumb decisions. I'll give them credit for at least now recognizing, man, when we were hardcore diving into this cancel culture thing and this left thing and everything's left and everybody's a transsexual and everybody is this and we got to put every character in the movie's got to be gay and they're learning. I'll give them credit for that. They're learning. Now, why are they learning? It's simple. They're not standing on a moral high ground. Let's be honest. They're seeing, my goodness, we're losing millions of dollars. We've seen the tide has turned, the wind has shifted. That's what they're doing. Jimmy Kimmel got I should say shafted, got the boot, at least as of now, as the time I record this. They're in talks, but he got the boot because they knew, Disney knew, oof, he said some things. We're looking at a big majority of people, they're speaking up loudly. So just like everybody else, can you go to your job and just say whatever you want? And then if you get fired, you go, oh, free speech. No, Jimmy Kimmel is an employee of Disney, period. This is how it works. He said things, he's running his mouth, he's saying things that are lies, and Disney is looking at, oh my gosh, if we keep him on the air, we're going to lose a lot of money. Now, they're also getting kind of like in trouble, I guess you could say, because they indefinitely suspended him and they're probably losing money from the left. But I like to think of it as like, I think there's more money coming from the right than there is the left. We're the ones who go to work every day. We're the ones who believe in supporting our families and the family unit and so on and so forth. So you can take your moral high ground, Jimmy Kimmel, and all you lefties. And it's I hate to say it, but like now you're starting to see what this cancel culture is like. Like the right, think about it, 2-3 years ago, if you didn't say, or if you spoke out against, a lot of times it was if you just didn't say it, like you'd have to stand up and say Black Lives Matter. If you said all lives matter, oh, you might lose your job over that. If you said these evil words, now obviously I'm being sarcastic. I know my audience, you guys know this, but if you said, for example, men can't give birth, oh my goodness, you demon. You'd probably, there's so many examples of people getting fired, and biological men shouldn't play in women's sports. You Nazi, and it's just so funny. Now I forgot the names. I wish I remembered the names. I think Kash Patel was one of them. Someone in was grilling Kash Patel, and somebody spoke up in his favor. I should know the names, and I'm sorry, I don't know the names, so I'm just speaking on the cuff right here. But someone said something along. Someone was hitting Kash Patel pretty hard about like making part of the entrance exam for the FBI is like having to do pull-ups or push-ups. I think it was pull-ups, and how it wasn't fair. And this person said, well, women can't do as many pull-ups as men, something like that. And then somebody else, I wish I remembered the names. I apologize, I didn't know. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, so you're probably like throwing the names in there for me. Thank you. Put them in the comments below. I like to see your comments. I read every one of them. I love every one of them. Thank you all. Somebody said like, now wait a minute, weren't you again, paraphrasing, but weren't you like saying before that biological men should be able to play in women's sports? Now you're saying there's a difference between men and women. It's just funny how they are. When all along we were saying the same thing, like, remember, well, it's not that long ago, but the Me Too movement, believe all women. Well, what if women are lying? Doesn't matter. Believe all women. We're in support of women. Women, men are evil. Women. Okay. Now, I'm on board with a lot of that. But it's so funny now that it comes down to biological men playing in women's sports. These people were like, well, screw all women. A man can give birth. Like, wait a minute. What happened to this women's movement? And because I have a wide range of ages in the audience, I'll say this correctly. But remember the hats that the left were wearing, the that had it was a woman's private area. So I'll just keep it like that. So again, like free speech, I believe in free speech, but I also believe in respect. I also believe in like you got to know the audience, you got to know who you're speaking to. So see what I mean? Free speech doesn't mean you could just go in you or maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but there's what you can do and there's probably what you shouldn't do out of respect. I went to church today. Does that mean I can go into church and start screaming "f this, f that"? And no, you know, could you make a claim like, well, that's free speech? Well, I guess so, but there's just some things you shouldn't do. Have some respect. Be a person of respect. Who's pushing more respect, obeying the law? Is that the right or the left? I mean, it's pretty simple. These are pretty simple things here. Who supports the police, the law, marriages, family, the family unit, education? Who's supporting those things, the right or the left? These are simple questions. Who's supporting defunding the police? Who supports the breakup of the nuclear family? Is that the right or left? See what I mean? There's just some things that are just like moral, like let's be morally sound here. So going back to Jimmy Kimmel, which I think is always funny, he hates Trump. Obviously, Trump derangement syndrome to the max. Like probably, if you wanted to say like who's got the highest level of Trump derangement syndrome, well, you might probably say like the people who shot at him. All right, you'd probably win that argument. The people who shot him are probably like the highest tier you can get to. Probably right below that would be like Jimmy Kimmel. Okay. And it's funny, he goes on a show every single night, and it's not comedy, it's not getting people to forget about their problems. It's just a sounding board for the left. It's how I hate the right, I hate MAGA supporters, I hate everybody who voted for Trump, I hate Trump. That's Jimmy Kimmel's show. But then I always thought it was funny how, with all the information, and it was clear as day that they were just carting around this dead guy in the office for 4 years, Joe Biden. He had Joe Biden on his show, and he had Hunter Biden on his show. And I love this. I've said this before in past episodes, but if you just watch a clip of Jimmy Kimmel interviewing Hunter Biden as an example, the scumbag. Hunter Biden is like just, you talk about like Hillary Clinton calls the right deplorables. Hunter Biden is deplorable. He's disgusting. He's a disgusting human being, okay? But Jimmy Kimmel, with all the information out about Hunter Biden, Jimmy Kimmel sitting there like a little schoolgirl in love, smiling all giddy, but you hate Trump. You hate Trump supporters, so it's just funny. So I've always called Jimmy Kimmel just smug. Every time you see him, he's just smug. I don't like him at all. I'm happy his show's canceled. At the same time, like I said, I don't really necessarily support cancel culture. But you have to understand, you work for an employer. Jimmy Kimmel is not this elitist, like he owns everything. He works for Disney. You said some stupid things. You said lies. And you're getting fired because of it. Just like me and you, if we were at our job, there's certain things we couldn't say. And the reason why is because we could lose our job. So can you just go and tell your boss off? Can you go tell your boss to F himself? Most likely not. So you could sit there and say and cry, oh, cancel culture, freedom of speech. There's a difference between cancel culture and just you ran your mouth, you're losing your job because you're an idiot. There really is truly two different things. People like, for example, J.K. Rowling. She is canceled because of the fact that she supports hardcore women's rights. She doesn't think that biological men should be in women's sports. She is canceled. Now, is she, like, same with like Jimmy Kimmel. Can you really feel bad for J.K. Rowling? You could feel bad for her legacy. She's aligned with us. And the funny thing is she was probably more, and might still be, probably more left. She's probably more liberal than she is, like you would say, conservative. But wake up call. They will throw you under the bus. The second you say something they don't like, you're canceled. So J.K. Rowling, she's someone who is canceled. I'm a big fan of Scott Adams, for example, the creator of Dilbert. The odd thing about that is I don't think I've ever read one Dilbert comic. I really don't think I ever have. But I've read many of his books. He's a trained hypnotist. The guy's brilliant on his podcast. And I listen to his podcast. I'm a big fan of his podcast. So he's been canceled. And all he basically said, the left keeps pushing, like, and this was a couple years ago at least, but he said the left kept pushing, white people are evil, stay away from white people, this and that. And he said, why would white people hang around certain black people if that's how they felt? That's what he said. So if black people are saying, I hate white people, why would you hang around them? Now, I'm slightly paraphrasing, but that's what it was, and he got canceled for saying that. Now, he didn't say all black people, but he said if that's the mindset, why would you hang around certain black people? Canceled. You can't say certain things. Just like, again, a couple years ago, you couldn't say all lives matter. You would be canceled. You would be in trouble for saying that. All lives matter. The absurdity of that is ridiculous. So who knows? Jimmy Kimmel may be back. He probably will be back. Just because that's just the way it's going to go. The left's going to put their boycotts on, and they're going to do their thing. They're going to do what they do. I was, right before I recorded this show, and I'm telling you, I did cry several times. Not afraid to admit it. I was watching the Charlie Kirk memorial, and as I record this episode, it's still going on, so I'm going to catch it and finish it later. There was one, it's just funny. You watch the thousands upon thousands of people that are there. It's a beautiful sight. It's very sad, but it's beautiful at the same time. And when Charlie Kirk was alive, his mission, obviously, Turning Point, and to get it into high schools, get it into colleges, to have chapters of Turning Point in there. He, while he was alive, I want to say, and I believe this is very close to at least very accurate, he had 2,100 chapters throughout colleges and high schools. Since his death, and as I record this, it's probably more now since his memorial, but it has gone to 65,000 requests for chapters to be started in high schools, colleges, and probably more than high schools and colleges. So 2,100 to over 65,000. And again, as you listen to this, and as the memorial's going on, those numbers are probably spiking. So when I heard his wife speaking, and not at the memorial, but I'm talking about when she got on and gave her speech a few days after he was assassinated by a piece of garbage, and she said, like, you think you've quieted us, you think you've suppressed us, you think you've stopped us. She's like, you've only like exploded this movement, and not in her exact words, but and I get it now. I see it. 2,100 to over 65,000. And now here's something, and it's something so, I was so mad. Well, I was mad, I was sad, I was touched, a lot of emotions while I'm watching his memorial. His pastor, he was speaking, and the pastor said, now in honor of like Charlie Kirk and beautiful things, and by the way too, Charlie Kirk's a white supremacist, Charlie Kirk's a Nazi, Charlie Kirk is a racist. I saw a lot of black people in that crowd. I saw a lot of black people in his organization that worked for Charlie Kirk, that worked also with Charlie Kirk. Do you know, that's like saying you're a black person and you work for the KKK. Here, let me carry your hoods for you. You're a black person, and you guys need those hoods washed? Let me take them to the cleaners for you. Does that make sense? So you've got all these black people supporting and working for and loving in the crowd at the memorial Charlie Kirk, but he's a white supremacist. He's a Nazi. So those are the things that made me enraged, like just the narrative. And I was telling my daughter, I'm so upset because that man lost his life. Those children lost their father because of lies, absolute lies. And it disgusts me. Now, getting back to the pastor, he said, I won't go into his whole speech, but I encourage you to watch it. It was beautiful. I was bawling. He said, for all of you that are Christians, and he went on that, and that was Charlie's biggest thing, and they talk about his faith and his faith in Christ, and how Charlie was like a preacher, more or less, and Charlie was always talking about God and preaching the word, and just a beautiful, beautiful thing. He said, I want all the Christians who have already given their life to Christ to stay seated. I want people who were not Christians and who have just recently, because of events that happened, maybe just today, right now, today, you've accepted Christ as your Savior. Can you please stand? And all these people stood up. And by the way, when the camera panned to the crowd, I saw black people. I saw Hispanic people. And of course, white people. I saw this man's message, Charlie Kirk, it just, we lost such a beautiful man. And then you hear these people speaking on his behalf and for him and about him, just good people talking about getting married, raise your kids, accepting Christ, following God. This is the person we have to take out. My uncle, Bill, texted me and he said they should be playing this memorial to the loudest decibel you could possibly imagine. And the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, they should be playing this memorial in his cell. Loud, loud and proud, where he can't escape it. They should have a TV in every corner where he just, and it's so loud, where it's just deafening almost. Even if he's covering his ears, he can still hear it. Just to see what you did. So, the blessing, hard to say. Hard for me to say. I'm a big Charlie Kirk fan. But the blessing behind it, 2,100 to over 65,000. When I see the level of people who have come to Christ, you know, church attendance has skyrocketed since Charlie Kirk was shot. I told you a story last episode. My nephew was wearing a shirt about Christ, a big cross in the front, and then a bunch of accepting Christ and Christ died for your sins. He ordered it himself, my 14-year-old nephew. So I got a real life story of like someone in my life, my nephew, so proud of him. And he said it was because of Charlie Kirk. He realized, wow, we all die, and I better get right with God. I was like, whoa. So when I see all those people standing, as the pastor said, if you've just accepted Christ, please stand. And the people that stood, the amount of people that stood, again, as hard as it is to say, you start to connect the dots and you start to realize, gosh, it's hard to say, but there was a purpose. And look at all these people coming to Christ. Church attendance is up. 65,000 chapters for Turning Point. There's blessings in this terrible, disgusting tragedy. There are blessings. And it's hard to say, but at the same time, it's like, wow. So Charlie's in heaven. I mean, it is one of those odd things. I remember I spoke at my grandmother's memorial. She was 99. She was, I believe, 10 weeks shy of her 100th birthday. My grandma was a very deep religious Christian. She lived a very strong Christ life. Like, she loved the Lord. And when I spoke at her memorial, at her wake, I said things along those lines like, listen, as hard as this is, and it was very hard, we should be celebrating, because I know where grandma is. Grandma's in heaven right now. And she got the prize, you know. So, and that's kind of like, you got to look at it that way, as hard as it is. Charlie Kirk's in heaven. And I hope I could be a sliver of a man as he was. And I'm starting to preach a little bit more. I'm starting to talk to Christ, about Christ to people more. And that's also directly connected to Charlie Kirk. So those are some of the small blessings that have come through, and that what we have to look at and honor and just respect and love about Charlie Kirk. And unfortunately, hard to say what happened to him. His pastor also said, I believe it was his pastor, somebody said, like, you know, Charlie Kirk, his shooter, he will die. He will die. He'll be put to death, and or even if he's not put to death, let's just say he dies in prison, he will die. Charlie Kirk's life, this is what the pastor said, I believe, his life has just begun. And he meant that with heaven, and he also meant that with like his mission. His mission has just begun. Up to 65,000, over 65,000. So it's beautiful. And the people he's bringing to Christ, beautiful. So Charlie Kirk, God bless you. And God bless your family. I wanted to get this out because it's just something funny happened to me a few weeks ago. Now, I also want to show how fair I am. So I'll tell a quick story. I was walking my dog. For those of you who have seen some of the videos, My dog walks herself. So she puts her leash in her mouth, and it's something I trained her to do like right away. The quick story behind that, it's just quick. Let me get to it. I had two dogs, and the bigger dog would take the other dog's leash in her mouth and like and not aggressively but fun, like playful, and so my big dog was kind of thinking she's walking the little dog, and it was cute to see. So she would like grab her leash and walk the other dog. And so almost immediately, and of course the little dog, she was a lot older, and unfortunately she's passed by now. Um, the little dog would get like upset over it, like, God, leave me alone, let me walk. Like this is so demeaning to me. You're grabbing my leash and walking me. I don't need this, and I'm older than you. I'm the elder in this relationship. So I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder if I gave her her leash in her mouth. Sure enough, so she stopped pulling my little dog, and she would take the leash in her mouth and walk herself. Very cute. I've had people stop me many times and say that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. She's actually walking herself. That's incredible. That's impressive, and things like that. So it's very cute. Everyone, I live in a really good subdivision and really good people. Now, one day I'm walking. I decided to take a different path, but I've seen this lady before, and she comes she comes at me pretty hard and yelling and Karen. She's a Karen, and your dog's supposed to be on a leash, and all I did was I'm never, listen, I'm respectful, so I just gave her a wave like that. I didn't argue at all. I just waved and just kept walking, and I could still hear her poor husband, her poor husband. And it's funny too, because the husband was also sitting on the porch, and he didn't say a word, and you could just tell. I could tell. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I could tell he was just like, honey, will you shut up? The guy's not doing anything. The dog's technically on a leash. She's got the leash in her mouth. But so I just waved her. Now, here's how fair I am. You want to hear how fair I am? She's right. The law is your dog's supposed to be on a leash. Now, this dog, my dog, is a golden retriever, the sweetest dog on the planet. She would not hurt a fly. Okay. Everyone where I live loves my dog. Her name is Summer, and I call her Crumb. Summer became some became Crumb. Actually, it started before Summer, and then Crumbuminous evolved from some Crumb, became Crumb. So she's got like, I also call her Big Dope. So she's got like a lot because she looks dopey sometimes. Like you know, so everyone loves Crumb, Summer, Big Dope. Everyone loves her. So I love my dog too. She's amazing. She is the perfect dog. So, and I know I say that because it's, you guys are probably dog owners that are listening to this, like, no, my dog's perfect dog, and you're right. We all love our dogs. So, but the bottom line, the point I'm trying to make is she was right. She was right. I'm supposed to have my dog on a leash. That's why I didn't argue with her. I did roll my eyes like, God, really, lady? Like, this dog is not going to hurt anybody. I didn't say that, though. I just gave her a wave and just kept walking, So now, here's the funny story. Me and my neighbor came up with a word that I want to copyright. I want to say it right on the show. So it's like, this is a word I came up with my neighbor. And the reason why, I was telling them we were in my neighbor's pool. And I was telling the story. And we both said like Karen. Yeah, oh yeah, she's a Karen. My neighbor Jen said paranoid. But we had music playing and the water's going, right? I thought she said Karenoid. So when she said paranoid, I said, Karenoid, that is an awesome word. And she goes, oh, and she told me, like, oh no, yeah, that's an awesome word you just came up with. And I'm like, oh, I thought you said Karenoid. She said, no, I said paranoid. So I'm going to give credit to me and Jen, my neighbor, for coming up with the word Karenoid. So Karenoid's like a Karen, but kind of like a level, just a little bit higher. Like they take Karen to the next level. Like they're a Karenoid. They're paranoid over stupid things. It's like, you should have your dog on a leash. Well, she technically is on a leash. She's got her leash in her mouth. So Karenoid, copyrighted, punched it. I'll share that copyrighted name between me and my neighbor Jen. All right. So with that, my friends, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I actually have more things to talk about, but I'll keep the shows a little bit tighter. I'll share some of this next week. But listen, get out there, crack your Bible open if you haven't. Get into church, start talking to other people about God, about Christ, and Listen, people, I'll make this brief. You all die. We all die. We all die. Period. Period. And I know that's a common knowledge, especially at this point in history. We all die. Decide where you're going to go. And just, you know what? Instead of being an atheist, why not just take that chance, just in case. Like, so let's just say you're an atheist, but like, take that chance, like, just in case. Just in case, why don't I just, all right, I accept Lord as my, and then maybe you'll start to slide and give into it a little bit. Start cracking open that Bible. I suggest starting to read the New Testament. Start with Matthew. For those logical people, maybe start with Proverbs. Just kind of dive in a little bit. And you know what? Is it really wrong to get on your knees and to submit to the Lord and just pray and just say, and let's just say you're not a believer, but get on your knees and pray and just maybe just speak honestly. You could even say, listen, God, I don't quite believe in you. There's so many questions I have. There's things that just don't make sense to me. I'm going to give this a try and just see if something moves in you. Try it. You're going to die. So just, do you want to, I don't want to take that chance. I don't. And if that's what it takes to get someone to be a Christian, then I say go for it. Why take that chance? So give it a shot. Try it. And just see. And listen, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just go on the earth and we just die. But what is wrong? I'm living a good life. I love the Lord. And if I'm wrong, then I just die. Okay. But what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And then you missed your shot to go to heaven. See what I mean? So I'll take my shot. I'll take my shot. If I just go on the ground, I'll never know it, and it is what it is. But I'm going to take my shot. I want to personally give Charlie Kirk a hug one day in heaven. And I hope to see you there. Enjoy your life.
Daddy, Daddy, you're so awesome. Daddy, Daddy, you're so cool.